As you know, we're talking about identity theft and fraud today, and just going to kind of go through a couple things that we should be on the lookout for, that we should be paying attention to, and some ways that you can protect yourself here with your account at the credit union, as well as outside of your credit union account, just protecting yourself in general. So it's a pretty relaxed setting. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to interrupt me. Just jump on in and say, Tanya, here I am. With that in mind, I did realize that I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Tanya San Miguel. I work upstairs. I'm the Vice President of Operations here at the credit union. So if you have any questions that you don't feel comfortable talking to me about here, I'll be around afterwards, or you can contact me through the credit union if anything shows up or anything like that later on down the road. First of all, I just want to start off with, basically what is identity theft? The theft or misuse of personal identifying information in order to gain something of value or facilitate other criminal activity. Very generic, very simple explanation. A lot of people think that if I have somebody access my credit card, that's identity theft. That's not actually identity theft, that's fraud. But a lot of people kind of junk it together, and so that's kind of what we're doing today as we're talking about it. We're going to talk about basically the different ways that we can go about protecting ourselves, like I said. But first, I wanted to give you some context, not on just on the national average side, but also here in South Dakota, because I think a lot of times we think, oh, we live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, we don't have to worry about that. That only happens in New York City or somewhere like that. So you'll see that this information is actually from January 1st through December 31st of 2009. If you go out to the FTC's website, this is the most current information that they have available. It was released in February of 2010. I'm hoping that we get some more here soon. I was just out there today hoping maybe they had something up. But it still will give you a general idea. This information is based off of consumer complaints received. And so you'll see this first column here is credit card fraud. The darker shade, can you ladies see, or would you rather we turn off light? Okay. This darker shade is South Dakota. So we are actually above the national average when it comes to credit card fraud in South Dakota. That didn't surprise me so much because we house so many of the credit card giants here. So I wasn't so taken aback. But I was a little more concerned as we started to move over into these areas. Here with government documents and benefits fraud, we're obviously below the national average. But then when you move over to phone and utilities fraud, does anybody ever even think about that when you're thinking about identity theft? You don't think about someone going and opening up utilities in your name using your social security number. But clearly it happens, and clearly in South Dakota we're leading the national average here. So I'm not sure what that is as far as cause goes, but that's something to be aware of. And those things don't typically just show up on your credit report until obviously they're not being paid, they're overdue, they've gone through the full collection process, and now they're kind of coming after you. The other columns here, employment-related fraud, we're underneath the national average. Bank fraud, we're slightly underneath the national average. Loan fraud, we're just neck and neck. And then other identity theft, I wanted them to give me more specifics as exactly what other was. And they weren't so forthcoming, but on the next screen that I show you, you'll see a little bit. What they've kind of junked together under other identity theft, 11% of that is made up of uncertain, so they're not giving me any clue as to what that is. 6.4% is miscellaneous. Again, they're not really forthcoming with that information. And then 3.4% of it is people evading the law. Obviously, that doesn't add up to that amount. There's some more on the next slide that you'll see. And then again, the last column, we are leading the nation in attempted identity theft. I guess it's good that it says attempted rather than successful, but it's still a little bit worrisome that we're that far ahead of the national average. That took me by surprise. I felt like here in the Midwest we're probably more we're more trusting in that sort of thing, so maybe that's why we're leading that national average. We don't think the worst in people usually. These numbers here just kind of break down that fraud that we just talked about so you get a better idea. As you saw, this other identity theft category is the largest there, and that's just kind of where it's breaking up. But the numbers I read off to you, you can tell, those were the top three, and then the others that make up that category weren't so, we didn't even have any numbers in there except for insurance. So, kind of gives you an idea of what to think of. Like I said, utility fraud and identity theft for use and utility fraud didn't really even hit my register until I started putting this together. So it's something to keep in mind. One of the things we want to talk about is, now that we know what they're doing with the fraud or the identity theft, we want to know how they're getting your identity. How are they getting your information so that they can go out there and do those things? These are by no means a complete list of how they do it, but these are some of the most preferred methods, so to speak. Dumpster diving, if you just want to hear the basics of that, dumpster diving is they are literally getting in your trash. They are going through your stuff. If you are a house that has your garbage outside of your garage or outside of a secured area, you might want to think about that a little bit. Maybe you don't want to have it outside. Some of us don't want it in the garage, because especially in the summertime, it starts to smell a little bit. You don't want the whole garage smelling like that. But if you're not shredding information like you should be, and you're not 100% sure that you're getting rid of all of the personal information that's hitting that garbage can, you should have that locked away for as long as you can instead of sitting out there at all hours of the night. Yeah.
I want to tell you something. My husband works for the city of Sioux Falls at the landfill. His favorite job on Tuesday or Wednesday is picking up paper, because they're not allowed to burn out there anymore. With the wind, the paper goes all over the place. He cannot believe the number of pieces of paper that he has picked up that has pertinent information from people. And they have started taking that now and bringing it to the office, because they know that they have to do something about it.
Because people, they're trying to protect people from
Exactly.
themselves. It's amazing. We've been talking, identity theft has been at the top of people's minds for years now. And that kind of stuff is still going on. Or we're still having conversations with members that come into the lobby about, well, I gave this information to so-and-so, but then when I thought about it later, so I can't stress enough how important it is that we're taking care of our end of it. Yes, they're doing these other things. They're skimming, they're fishing, but a lot of times it's just basic dumpster diving. It's just basic information that they're pulling from your garbage cans or from the landfill or from something like that. So if you don't have like a $20 shredder at your house, I highly, highly recommend it.
We never had one until that. He realized that.
Really?
And man, everything goes in that shredder now.
Yeah. And just kind of get in the habit of, like you said, everything. Just shred everything. The other thing is, we as a credit union, as your credit union, we will take your stuff and throw it in our shred bin if you want, your papers. We've had events where we've encouraged people to come out, bring up to, I don't know, what was the latest, 2 pounds or 5 pounds or something of shreddable documents. We will shred it for you free of charge. It is amazing to me how few of our members actually participate in those events. I'm like, I know you're not shredding all of those documents at home, so please take advantage of it. If you have something, my father, for example, he has boxes and boxes of stuff going back till probably before I was born. And he's like, well, what do I do with these? And I'm like, well, you're not going to actually shred them all, Dad. So why don't you, either contact a shred company, contact your local, credit union or whatever, because a lot of times they are doing those events. So if you see that in our newsletters or that you see that email come about, go through your house and gather that stuff. We encourage it, and we're doing that to help protect you. So take advantage of it. Skimming. Do you know what skimming is by any chance? Skimming is when they take like your card and they're skimming the information off of it. For example, you'll go to an ATM machine and maybe it's a little difficult to get your card in the ATM machine. That should be a red flag for you. If you have difficulty inserting your card in anything that's required for swiping it, stop right there. That should be like, okay, I need to think about this again and go somewhere, go to a different ATM. Because what they do, the fraudsters actually attach a device to the front of ATM machines, and then when you slide your card in there, it's able to capture all the mag strip information. And what a mag strip is on the back of your card. That's that magnetic black strip that stores all of your personal data. And so once they capture that, they have all your card information. And then when they're putting it on the ATMs, they can also sometimes capture your keystrokes, because a lot of times they put up a camera or something. Again, that's one of those things that we think, oh, that's not happening in Sioux Falls. Probably about 2 months ago, we had an alert sent around that one of the local ATMs here in town, they had caught on camera somebody trying to hook up a computer to the ATM. So be aware that's happening everywhere. Skimming can also happen. Unfortunately, these people, they have all the time in the world. I don't know where they get the time to come up with this information, this type of technology, but they have devices they can put on their belts. So they can just swipe your card through there and all of a sudden have information to it. So you're never going to be 100% safe. We would like to say that you are, but I'm hoping that by the time we get through this tonight, you'll at least know what to be on the lookout for and how to kind of help prevent these things from happening, or how to act should they happen. Fishing. Not going out to the lake, but what they're doing when they're fishing is they are contacting you via phone, via email, and they are throwing a line out there and seeing how much information they can get from you. They want, maybe they have some of your information, but not all of it. So now they're sending this information to you via email saying, Dear Tanya, we have some money for you and we need this additional information. And I'm going to give you some examples of these as we go on. But there's an IRS phishing scheme out there that often is saying, oh, we owe you money. Please fill out this form and you'll get your additional $650 from the government. The IRS doesn't notify you of things like that via email. We as a financial institution don't notify you of things like that via email. So always, always, always be alert for those types of things. Another key way of them doing it is changing your address. How many of you have actually changed your address with the post office before? Have you guys? Janie? Did they ask you for any identification when you changed your address? Did anybody?
They did the last time.
And when was that?
Oh, we went from a box to the legal street address about a year and a half ago.
I was just in the post office the other day. Hi there.
Hi.
Come on up. I was just in the post office the other day, and they still have the change of address forms sitting right there on the counter. All you have to do is take one, fill it out, drop it into the mailbox, and then they change your address for you.
Or you can do it online.
Online as well, exactly. So I maybe didn't move from my house, but there's somebody who thinks, oh, that looks like somebody's house that I might want to see what their mail looks like, or maybe you live in a more affluent part of town, so they target that, or something. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but whatever triggers in their brain, I don't know what causes it. But they will then pick you out of the crowd, go to the post office, change your address to like a P.O. box or something like that. So all of a sudden you stop getting mail, and you're like, what's going on? Well, then all of a sudden these fraudsters have your pre-approved offers that are coming through the mail. They have bills that are coming to you that have your personal pertinent information on them, all types of information like that. So if you have an instance where all of a sudden you see that there's a lag in your mail, look into that. Check with the post office. The other thing we have is just old-fashioned stealing. Just plain and simple. They just steal your information. They steal your purse, they steal your wallet, anything like that. And then, last but not least on our list today is pretexting. Basically what that is they are going under the pretense of some other persona or something. For example, I give you a call and I say, oh, my name's Tanya. I'm calling on behalf of the credit union doing a survey for you. Okay, well, we do surveys, so perhaps you might get that call, but what we will not ask you for are things like your social security number, your account number, all of that type of stuff, your date of birth. Be very, very, very aware when you're getting those types of phone calls. If a financial institution is calling you, they have that information. They will be verifying it perhaps, but they shouldn't be asking you to provide it. The pre-texting, they will have already part of your information. I did him is he received a phone call supposedly from somebody who had worked, or somebody who works in a medical office in Iowa, wanting to contact him about his upcoming appointment. So he's like, I don't have an appointment in Iowa. Well, isn't your name Tanya? Yes, my name's Tanya. Well, isn't your date of birth 5/5, whatever? Yes. Well, we show that you have an appointment. Didn't you see Dr. So-and-so back in Sioux Falls and, on such and such a date? We kind of could narrow it down that there must have been some sort of breach in that doctor's office. Somebody was mad, somebody took some information, and now this many years, because this was like 5 or 6 years prior that he'd had this appointment with this doctor here in Sioux Falls. So now they've sat on it for a while, and now they're trying to do something with it. He pretty much hung up on him, so good for him. But then he started thinking about it, and he started thinking, okay, well, they have my information. How much more of my information do they have? And so then he came in and sat with us, and we kind of went through some stuff. But that's what pretexting is. They call you with the pretense of already having some of your information. Therefore, you think you're safe. Oh, this must be Tanya from the credit union. Okay, I'll give her the rest of that information. Never, never, never give out any additional information that way. Same thing goes for like pushing buttons on your phone. That's also a scam. They'll call you and say, hey, push 1, push 5. And next thing you know, they have access to your phone line, and now they're making long distance calls on your phone, and you're going to be stuck with the bill. So we're going to go into these a little bit more on how to deter, but does anybody have any questions on these? One of the things I just want to touch base on for you ladies is this top one, dumpster diving. That is still a key area that people are, getting information from. They are just going through your garbage, doing that. So if you keep your garbage outside, think about moving it to a secure area. If you don't have a shredder, find a shredder, or bring it to us. We will gladly throw it in with ours. We're shredding hundreds and thousands of pounds of documents already. We will add yours to the list to be done as well. Okay, when you go out to the Federal Trade Commission's website, and they are the ones that handle a lot of the identity theft. When you go out to their website, they have the 3 Ds of identity theft. It's deter, detect, and defend. So we're going to start off with deter. Talking a little bit about, how can you keep this from happening? And going into a little more detail than we did on the first screen. First thing you want to do, again, is shred all those documents. Shred, shred, shred. I cannot stress it enough. Some of the documents that we don't even think have our personal information on there, or that somebody could do something to harm our credit or our identity, you just you throw in there. My son the other day threw his pay stub into the garbage. I was like, child, you've been with me for how many years? Why would you just throw your pay stub into the garbage? You've learned nothing. Oh, well, I didn't realize it had this, that, and the other. But, like I said, it starts with just a simple piece of information, like your birth date or even your address. And boom, they're on their way. So make sure you're shredding everything with any bit of personal information. That includes those pre-approved credit card offers. Those especially should be completely shredded.
Is there any way of stopping those?
Yes, we're going to talk about that. You can opt out of all of those
Well, we're getting
pre-approvals.
ones now that we have canceled,
Who are they coming from, do you know?
well, whoever they were.
Okay.
But we've canceled them, and so
This-
it's like, I think if we just automatically authorize them, then of course they got us hooked again
Right.
and using them, but
What you need to do is there's 3 main credit bureaus in the country. You need to contact all 3 of them
with that information.
to say, I do not want to be a part of your pre-approval process. Because what those credit bureau companies do is they sell those pre-approval lists, and then that's when people are, doing those pre-approvals, they've got your information, they know, oh, she pretty much qualifies based on this information, so I can send her this, this pre-approval from Chase Bank or, whoever. Finger Hut, any one of these places, that has some sort of credit attached to them can purchase those types of lists, and then that's why you keep getting those pre-approvals. But if you don't touch every single credit bureau, and I'll give you the information for that as well. Protecting your Social Security number. We give out that Social Security number to everybody. It's the way that everybody identifies us. Our doctor's office, our dentist's office, our financial institution. If we're if we're looking at purchasing a car, they're asking for it. Protect that with your life, even though it's something that is so readily available. You still should be protecting it. We still have people that want their Social Security numbers on their checks. Do not ever. You have just provided them with your name, your address, your account number, and your Social Security. That's a payday for them. They're going and they're living high on the hog with that information. So protect that. The Social Security Administration actually recommends that before you give your Social Security number to anybody, that you ask a couple questions. The first one they recommend is why. Very simple. Why do you need this information? Why do you have to have my Social Security number? Obviously, financial institutions, we have to have your Social Security number to be able to report to the IRS and do that sort of thing, so there's no way we can avoid it. We've had persons before who just really didn't want to give us their social, but we had to explain, okay, we can't open the account if we don't have that. How is it going to be used? Know how they're going to use it. Are they selling their information to other mail list companies, pre-approval type stuff? Because some other companies do that. Maybe you have credit with XYZ company. Well, they have an arrangement with somebody else to sell that information. I always ask, do you sell your information that you have? What are you doing with this information?
Is your number safe within a financial institution?
Generally, yes, is going to be my answer. You are less likely to have that fraudster gain access to your Social Security number through your financial institution than you are through other areas that you're using it. We have so many firewalls and various different protections up and in place to protect that information, because we have how many people's 10,000 plus people's Social Security numbers and all of their account information. So yes, that information is very safe with us. Where you start to get into some problems is the information that you utilize with your account, not necessarily your Social Security number, but like your debit card, when you use it at retailer XYZ, that retailer is not necessarily storing that. Well, first of all, they're not supposed to store the information, but some of them aren't taking the proper defenses to secure their data processing systems. So like when you guys, I don't know if you guys have ever had this happen to you, I hope not, but chances are you probably have, where you've received a phone call from us saying, we have your debit card information and we have reason to think it's been compromised, so we need to close it down and reissue you another one. A lot of times people get very upset with us. They're like, why? This is very inconvenient for me. And we understand that, but we have received information from our third-party processing company that a vendor, for example, we heard about TJ Maxx back in, I don't even know how many years ago that was now, but that was a big breach. There was the whole TJ Maxx debacle, and they weren't protecting their information. And somebody hacked into their system, and lo and behold, I mean, millions of cards had to be reissued, and millions of people's information was compromised. That's when we're calling you doing that. We are definitely, we've received information that makes us think that your card is on one of those lists from a third-party vendor who's been compromised, and that's sometimes where you're going to get into that tricky, area. But here at the credit union, yes, we take everything, every precaution that we possibly can to protect your information. And at the end of today's presentation, I'm also going to talk about some additional steps that we would really highly encourage you to take to help us protect you. Limit your incoming and outgoing mail. A lot of people say, how can I do that? How can I limit my incoming and outgoing mail? Well, one of the things we talked about, opting out of those pre-approvals. You don't want those. Let's get our names off of those lists. Let's end that. sign up for an online bill pay service. That's one of the things that Delane Smith, she used to be the Director for Consumer Protection for the state of South Dakota. I don't know if any of you were at our annual meeting where she spoke, but one of the things that they highly recommend is using an online bill pay service, because you have the option, not all of them, but some of them have the option, and more as technology grows, where you can receive your bills electronically instead of sitting in your mailbox. And that helps protect you because people aren't then able to grab that information from your mailbox.
Is that any safer though?
It is safer than your mailbox for sure. 100% safer than your mailbox. Whenever you're mailing out something, don't put up that red flag. That is like an indication to that fraudster sitting down the street saying, please come take the mail out of me. Come make me your next victim. Don't, if you are mailing stuff out, take it to the blue box. Take it to the post office. I wish they would just take those red flags right off of the mailboxes these days, because it's really just waving a flag saying there is something in here that I'm trying to get out and it's important and it may be the ticket to paradise for you. So don't use that. But really look into, a lot of people I know, they are concerned with the safety of an online bill payment. It's recommended by the Federal Trade Commission as a way for you to protect yourself, because the firewalls and the different steps that we have to take to utilize those services are far exceeding what you guys are doing with your mail just coming back and forth. You've read stories about, and I'm not trying to pick on the U.S. Post Office, but you've read stories about, postal people who had mail discovered in their garages that they never delivered. That was here in that was here in Sioux Falls, like quite a few years ago. And then again, like I said, fraudsters target your mailbox. They'll target an area and they'll just go through. So if you don't think that online bill pay is for you, then at least get a secured mailbox that has a lock and key, that's not just kind of one of those aluminum ones, like a sturdy, secure mailbox, and use that. Carry only what you need in your wallet or purse, and make copies of the fronts and backs of your credit cards, because everybody knows you lose that credit card, where's the number to call in case you lose the card? It's on the back of the card, So maybe put together like an identity theft binder where you keep, secure in your home, copies of the front and back of all the credit cards that you have. So in the event that something like that happens, like your purse gets stolen, your wallet gets stolen, you leave it at a merchant. How many times have we walked away from a store and forgot our debit card or forgot our credit card there, or the person didn't give it back to us, and we were so caught up in, especially with the holidays coming up and the hustle and bustle of that shopping. So if you have those copies, you have the numbers readily available to call to be able to cancel immediately. And then if you're just limiting what you have in there, at no time should you have your Social Security card in your wallet. My dad, my son, my brother, they all carry their Social Security cards. And I'm like, why? Are you going to the mall and someone's going to ask you for your Social Security card?
I think I do.
You don't.
Take that
I
out.
think I do.
Yeah, take that out. Put it in your secure filing system. File it away. That is, again, that's the highlight for those fraudsters. They're like, they hit the big time.
They are really.
Yeah, because you probably have your checkbook in there too, right?
Yeah.
So now they know where you do your banking. They have your Social Security. They call us. Hi, my name's Tanya. This is the last four of my social. Can I see what my available balance is, please? So then we're on the other side going, oh, okay, Tanya. That is the last four of your social. Let's, maybe you didn't set up a code word, which I'm going to talk about later. And I say, okay, your available balance is $2,527. They're like, yeah, I can write these checks and I'm free. So take it out of there. And then they're opening up other credit. If you have a higher balance, chances are you probably have a better credit score, and they're running with that too. And it's amazing what they can get done in that limited time.
I've always heard though that you should keep, and I probably need to go online instead, but I was always told you should keep 7 years of your bank statements.
And with technology, you now have the ability to store it differently. So you can still keep that information in case you get audited by the IRS or whatever, but make sure you're turning that over so you're not keeping 14 years by accident in case someone does rob your house or get into your house and steal that information. Keep it secure. We have, situations where people aren't securing that documentation. And it's sad to say, but a lot of times when we have people in here with, the horrible things that happen, it's somebody they know. It's, we've had parents who kids are just taking them, but there are kids out there doing it. There are roommates or friends who just happen to see it. And I don't in any way want you guys to walk out of here not trusting anybody, but, keep that stuff secure. Don't leave it hanging out. A lot of times when they interview people who have been arrested for identity theft and for this type of activity, and they're interviewing them and they're asking them, how did you get this information? Oh, I walked into this office and they didn't clear the desk and I saw it, and they can commit it to memory because that's what they do. If I walk into your office and I see a document on your desk, I surely can't commit that to my memory. I don't know, maybe I'm just dumb or something, but it is not going to be memorized by the time I leave. But I guess if that was my job, if that's how I got my next meal or whatever, I'd probably be better at it. So keep all of that stuff secure, and make sure if you are keeping that 7 and you're keeping it in your home, that you are definitely keeping it secure and that you're rotating it out.
Is it available, if I was to sign up online, is it available if I needed 7 years?
7 years isn't going to be readily available online for you. You won't be able to go in and do that yourself. You'll have to contact us, and that there is a research fee for some of that, depending on, how far back it is and that sort of thing. So it's good that you are keeping that information in the event of an audit, but just make sure you're doing it smart. And then we talked about the Social Security and the checks and all of that. We still have people that fight with us about putting their Social Security in the checks. Do not do that. I can't stress that enough. Kind of talking about what you alluded to, taking your names off the do not register list. First of all, you want to make sure that you're not getting some of these phone calls, the solicitation phone calls, because there is a lot of charity fraud that goes on as well. They want you to donate to the Firemen's Association. Your dear firemen are dying in these fires, giving their life. Well, we all love our firemen, but how do I know that this charity that's calling me is a legitimate charity? I don't. So, just to help yourself and your sanity, because they're usually calling during dinner time, go ahead and remove yourself from the do not call registry. You should, or not remove yourself, add yourself to it. You should not be doing this type of donation over the phone anyway to be safe.
Someone told me that you have to redo that every so often.
I forget what the time frame is. I believe you are correct, but if you have access to a computer, you can go out to this website. It will give you all the information, or if you call the toll-free number, they'll walk you through exactly. And I do apologize, I do not remember exactly what that time frame is. Now, what you want to keep in mind is maybe you are on the do not call registry, but then you go to some retailer in the mall and you're checking out, and almost every single person now says, "Can I get your phone number?" I never give. I'm like, "No, I'm sorry." My mom's like, "Oh, I just feel rude if I say no." No, Mom. You're giving them the authority to call you by providing your phone number to them. So then this do not call registry does not apply. So if you provide that information, they're able to call you all they want. So just keep that in mind.
Can you put the election people on there?
Oh, man.
They should actually. If you're registered with it, they shouldn't be able to call you either. They don't get a free pass. So, unless of course you've registered with the party, providing your phone number to them through some, something that you've attended, or the people that come up to you outside of the courthouse saying, "Sign this, sign this, sign this." But this is good because that'll help you with some of those phone scams. And when they're calling, asking, doing that pre-texting or doing that phishing, you can eliminate a lot of those phone calls. Because you're not on that list that's being sold to everybody anymore. Get your names and phone numbers off the mailing and telemarketing list. That comes with contacting the 3 credit bureaus. And when you're leaving today, you'll see on the back table there's an Understanding Your Credit brochure. In that brochure, it has the contact information for all 3 of the credit bureaus. Contact them. They will walk you through how to opt out. Or if you receive if you go home tonight and on your dinner table, your husband's brought in your mail and you see you have a pre-approved offer from, XYZ company, at the very, very bottom of the fine print, you will see, if you want to opt out of these pre-approvals, do da 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 da. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're contacting all of those credit bureaus. So if you contact them with the information we've provided in that brochure, you should be good to go. You can let them know you do not want to be a part of that. And really, why do you want to? If you want to get a loan, you have your trusted people that you're going to go to. Hopefully you're coming to the credit union, or you're at a place that you already do business with and you're familiar with. You don't want Joe Blow's, credit card company out of, Norfolk, Nebraska or something sending you information when you don't even know that.
We're getting a lot of calls. They say there's nothing wrong with your credit, and then they begin to spiel. They want to give you a better interest rate. Does that work with that too?
If you're on the do not call registry and they're getting that information from a sold listing, yes. If it's a fraudulent call and they're just fishing for information, it won't stop that. But at least hey, I'm not even on the call registry anymore, so you shouldn't be calling me. So this is a phone call that I should probably just hang up.
But they're different numbers, different.
They're good. It is amazing what these people are capable of doing. I mean, if they put half the energy into jobs like you and I have, it's amazing. Who knows? We could have the cure for cancer right now, if they had that kind of dedication. But they're just looking for that quick buck, and they come up with some amazing things. So like I said, take that brochure in the back, Understanding Your Credit. It has the contact information for all 3 of the credit bureaus, and remove your name from that. And then, as far as your credit report goes, the Fair Credit Act was passed, it's been quite a few years now. You are entitled to get a free credit report every year, an annual free credit report. And that is from each of the 3 main credit reporting agencies. Our suggestion typically is to stagger that. Some people, not everybody reports to all 3. Some people just report to 1, some report to all 3, some do report to 2. So what shows up on one credit report doesn't necessarily show up on all 3. So if you take advantage of getting your free one per year and you kind of stagger it, then you can sort of monitor most of the activity going on your credit throughout the entire year without having to pay. If you have any indication that there's been fraud, I wouldn't hesitate to pay for your credit report, but just to kind of help you monitor it. These are things that people just don't do. You never think about your credit until you need it. The last place you want to be when you find out there's been fraud on your credit report is applying for a mortgage or applying for some sort of vehicle loan or something. One of the things here is also if you have kids, grandkids, younger persons, it's a misconception. Well, I don't have any credit, therefore I don't have to worry. No, you should probably worry the most because you don't have any credit. Somebody knows that, and they've stolen your Social Security number and your information from a younger person. And then when they get older and they're looking to utilize their own credit, they find that something's already on there. And again, that's one of those things where unfortunately we see a lot of people, family members that have done that. So be aware. But definitely take advantage of this. And I just want to verify that this information is not the same information that you're seeing advertised on TV for your free credit report. They say free credit report, but they'll give you a score or something and then you have to write in to get more and they'll charge you. This is actually free. This is actually through the United States government. You're entitled to this with the Fair Credit Act. And so this is where you want to go for that information. I'm not sure. I'll have to check. Can I borrow your?
Yeah. It looks like it's right there.
Yep, it sure is. It's on that middle one. I thought it was, but I didn't want to get caught misleading you. Some precautions to take when you're dealing with the internet or the phone. Just kind of some common sense stuff that we maybe need to remember. You don't want to give out any personal information when you're on the internet. Like if you're paying for something, you're going in to purchase something, unless you see that HTTPS. The S is very important. Sometimes you're going to see just the HTTP. That is not a secure site then. You do not want to be putting in your credit card information on there. And also some of them have that lock symbol. So make sure you're seeing that up at the top of your page where you view their address and that information. And then also make sure you're on a trusted site. There are a ton of fly-by-night sites out there on the internet. You have no idea about their ethics. Be safe with your information. If you don't know that this is a trusted site, maybe they have a great deal, but it's really not worth the problem of correcting your identity theft situation down the road. We've already kind of talked about the charity. Don't do it over the phone or email. Have them send something to you. Have it, most of the time when they're running the scams, they're not going to take they're not going to incur the cost of mailing the information to you. Unfortunately, there are some legitimate charities that just don't like to mail the information because they're a charity. They're trying to save the money. But for your protection, I would still recommend, you know where to go to give the donation if that's a charity that's near and dear to your heart. So do it that way. Don't feel the pressure of having that person's email or the phone call. Wire transfers. It seems pretty common sense that if you don't know the person that you wouldn't want to wire money to them. I cannot tell you just in the last month alone how many of my members I have talked to that have been in a situation where they were being asked to wire money to people they don't know, or they had money wired into their account and they didn't know the person who was sending it to them. A lot of times what's happening with that is the fraudster is utilizing you to create this untrackable trail of funds that they have fraudulently taken from somebody else. So if you don't know somebody, don't accept the wire. Don't say, okay, I'm going to take this $100 that you're paying me and then wire you back $400. We're going to talk about some of those scams. Those are notorious Nigerian scams that go on, and they have a lot of spin-offs from that scam. But people fall for it every day. We see people in here. They don't have money to buy their food for the next month because they've been taken advantage of.
If you get the email I get them all the time where I have X amount of dollars in an account and I just delete it.
Yep, delete it. Don't even, I would say, with the technology changes, if you don't even recognize where that email's from, don't even open it. Because a lot of times now, it used to be that they want you, and some of them still do, want you to click on a link inside or do something. But with technology changes, sometimes just opening that email gives some access to your computer that you don't want them to have. So if you don't recognize who the email's from, definitely just delete it. Don't respond to it. Don't, do anything else. Delete it, possibly block it. You know how you have the ability to, block emails from coming in, do that. And that kind of leads me right into that one. Don't respond to any of that spam. Just go ahead. The other thing that's getting a little tricky is if somebody in your contact list has done this, then sometimes they have access to all of the contacts in there. So you do get an email from me, you recognize me, you're like, oh, Tanya sent me an email, you're all happy, you open it, and bada bing, bada boom, something bad's happening. Always look at the subject line and see kind of what that says. Sometimes that'll be a dead giveaway if something's wrong, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of those telltale signs, those red flags here in a little bit. But always look at that. If there's weird links in there that you're like, why is Tanya sending me a link to a video? I don't know how many of you have Facebook. A lot of times you see these links on Facebook that say, what are you doing in this video? It's so funny. I don't click on any of those because I know I'm not in some weird funny video, and if I was, my friend's not going to be posting it on my Facebook page, so just delete that off of your Facebook feed.
What happens if you now I'm getting them with her name on it and my daughter's name, but their email address is not correct?
You're very smart for looking at the email address because a ton of people just look at the name. And so just delete
How do you
it.
stop that though?
Sometimes you can't. You can block that address though. There's an option, I don't know who you use for your email. Juno. They should have an area in there where you can block certain email addresses. But if you know it's not theirs and you're smart enough to check, so that's good, just delete it. Don't even open it. Don't do anything. Just delete it. Call a number from a business that's listed in the email. Yeah, that's typically that's going to be a bad scenario for you if it's an unrecognizable. If you're not as a credit union, we send emails to you if you provided us with your email list. We try to only send you pertinent information or stuff that we think you should know about. We're not going to say, hey, call us at this. We've already told you the action we want you to take. We've said, your CD is renewing. Let us know what you want us to do. You know our number. You're a member. We're not going to provide you this information. We're not going to give you another link to say, click here, do this, do that. That's one of those scams where they're just trying to get that information. So don't fall. If you ever receive something that you're worried is not from us, before you do anything with it, call us. I would much rather take calls all day long of you guys calling and saying, I have this email, I'm not sure it's really from you, or I received this phone call, than having to sit with you later and clean up the mess, because that is just heart-wrenching to watch. Our previous portion dealt more with identity theft, bled over into the fraud, but now we're going to concentrate even more on the fraud events that are taking place. And again, this is in no way, all-encompassing. We cannot stay ahead of the fraudsters, unfortunately. We try. It just doesn't, there's just no way. They're dedicating their entire life to that. So I'm just hoping that by providing you some information about the most regular frauds that we see, that it will help you, or you can share that information with somebody and it can help them. Obviously, the legal definition of fraud is a false representation of fact made knowingly with the intention that the victim rely on it to the victim's detriment. It's very simple. Each of these fraudulent items that we're getting ready to talk to do exactly that. The very first one I alluded to earlier, the Nigerian scam, this is one of the first ones that ever started coming out. And it is, again, we see this in the news. We read it in articles. We try and educate you on it, and we still have people that just fall victim to it on a regular basis. It's basically somebody is contacting you with some sort of woe is me story, and they want you to help them access their money. I'm from, somewhere, Kirk, Pakistan, I don't know, and I have all this money, but it's tied up. Or another variation is, I have all this money, but your exchange rate is better. If you start thinking about how exchange rates work, and that's what that doesn't make sense either. But people fall for it all the time. Oh, this poor person stuck in this poor third world country that can't get access to their money, and they just want to save their family. And what can I do to help them? And sometimes it's not the immediate request to help them with their money. Sometimes it's, they want to talk to you, they share their story, they become your friend, and then all of a sudden it's, well, if I wired you money, or if I sent you this check, would you cash it in your account and then wire me or Western Union me the money back? Next thing you know, you do just that. You go over to Western Union it out. They get money, because that's guaranteed funds for them, before that check has come back to your account saying that it's a fraudulent check. And you're left $4,000 in the hole because we've come back and said, oh, it's a fraudulent check. We have to take that provisional credit back that we gave you when you deposited that check. So it's a very, very scary situation. And they have taken this scam and turned it into a multitude of other scams, just different variations of the same thing. And like I said, in the last couple of months, I've probably seen more people. I don't know if they're just like targeting our area or what, but I have seen a ton of people come in with that. Lottery scam, think about it. It's common sense here. I am not going to notify you that you won a lottery that you never entered. You won the Canadian lottery. You call us and we'll give you your millions of dollars. Where were you that you entered the Canadian lottery? Do you remember doing that? You don't just have your name flushed into that information. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. However, you won a lottery, but you have to pay these taxes. And again, this is one of those scams that they do variations on. Anything that they want you to send money back to them before you get your earnings, or if they overpay you for, and you have to wire, red flags should be going off all over the place. You do not want to do that. Lately, we've seen a lot of the secret shopper scam through the classified ads. People, people go out there, they're looking for a job. Oh, I can be a secret shopper and earn $35 a day or whatever. They go out, they supposedly secret shop at these places. They receive a check in the mail. I shouldn't say supposedly because they actually do secret shopping. They receive a check in the mail. They're getting $35 per place that they secret shop. The check in the mail comes for like $1,000, $2,500. Oh, we overpaid you. I'm so sorry. There must have been a mix-up in our payroll department. Let me have you keep your money that you should have had for doing your secret shopping and wire the rest of it back to me. And it's almost always a wire. They don't want you to cut them a check because they aren't going to be guaranteed those funds on the check. And by the time that check gets there, that you've probably figured out you've been duped. So it always includes that wire. So anytime you hear that type of thing, just hang up, delete, don't even worry. Don't try and I had a gentleman who tried to have like this legitimate conversation with this person about the wrongdoing that they were having. And actually, what that conversation ended up doing was doing more harm to the situation because he unknowingly was providing these fraudsters with additional information, including my name as I was helping him. And so then all of a sudden these emails start going to the other party, and it includes my name from Sioux Empire Federal Credit Union. And so the other party is thinking, oh, this must be legitimate. There is a Tanya San Miguel that works there. Yes, she is the vice president. She knows what she's doing. Well, the only reason they had that is because he was saying, I talked to the vice president and she said that this was a scam. And so you throw that title on there and all of a sudden somebody thinks that that means something. I may not know what I'm talking about, but that's, somebody thought I did. So be aware of this type of thing. This has happened also with cleaning through the personal ads. I had a gal in here recently who was cleaning a house and was overpaid and again had to wire the money back, and all of a sudden again was out the money. So, and unfortunately, as much as we hate to see people in that situation, we can't say, oh, you were taken advantage of, we're just going to wipe this debt clean. Because that money's gone. We have to recoup it somehow. So, and 9 out of 10 times they can't get back to the original person because they've used all these other different people to wire money in and out. So it's very sad. Scare tactics. This is becoming more and more frequent where they're calling and it's kind of like a hard to understand phone conversation, and I'm in jail and this is my one call, Grandpa, please send me money to get out, I'm in Mexico and here's the information. Funny how it kind of clears up when they're giving the information, but not clear enough in the beginning to really understand. We're having a lot of members who are receiving these types of calls, and this is across the nation as well. My grandfather got one of these and he called every single one of his grandkids to make sure we were all at home. And so, make sure that you are verifying. You might not know what your family members are doing all over. If you're like me, I have family members all over the nation. So I don't know what my family in Indiana is doing or my family in California. But I also know that if I'm probably not the first person on their call list in the event that they are arrested in a foreign country. So just kind of keep that in mind and verify. Don't do anything right there in that moment of panic. Get off the phone, try and find out where they are. If there's a callback number, get off the phone, verify, with your family that is the case, and then you can proceed from there. Because in the event that that is an actual situation that's happening to one of your family members, they will have that information readily available for you. And then we've kind of talked about the fake charity already, so I won't beat that. Any questions about these so far? They seem very, 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 like common sense. But what happens in a lot of these is they take like a twist on it, and They prey on people who are lonely. They do a lot of online dating type things. They do a lot of like social circle friends, maybe on the internet, that type of thing. And all of a sudden you've become really good friends, and you know that Tanya would never ever take advantage of you. I had a gentleman not that long ago, over $8,000 he'd already wired to Malaysia for his girlfriend to come back. So, I mean, it happens all the time. I referenced Elaine Smith, the previous Director for Consumer Protection for the state of South Dakota previously, and she told us a story one time about a credit union in Pierre who had a member who had a boyfriend who was overseas, and he kept telling her, I want to come live with you, I love you, we're going to get married, yada, yada, yada. Well, he started sending her these checks saying, and he's the one that used the exchange rate theory. He said, your exchange rate is so much better if you do it, you put it in your account and you do whatever. Well, the exchange rate, first of all, never even came into play because he sent it to her in U.S. currency. So, should have, put off the red flag, but she was in love, and, she thought this guy loved her. And so she kept, depositing these. Well, they started coming back, and the credit union was like, oh, remember, this is bad, this is coming back, this is fraud. And she came in with another check to deposit, and she would not believe them. She was so mad at them. It just so happened that credit union is the same one that Elaine Smith actually used, and she was called, and she came as the director of, consumer protection, and she, with the police, stood there and told this poor gal, this is a scam. They are scamming you. You cannot do this. She would not believe it, to the point that they actually had to say, if you decide to cash this or proceed to try and get it cashed here or anywhere else, you will then be convicted of this, knowingly participating in this fraudulent activity. And so they prey on people. This poor gal, she thought she was in love. She thought this was the love of her life, and there it was. So it's heartbreaking. Just a couple others that are, like I said, spins on what we just talked about. The easy credit pay in advance. They prey on people who maybe their credit is not the most outstanding, so they tell them, hey, we'll give you this credit rebuilding opportunity, but you have to pay in X amount of money first. Anything that you have to prepay like that, that's a red flag for you. That shouldn't be something that you're participating in. Or at least, at a bare minimum, you need to research it more. Foreign royalty, pretty sure any of us in this room, if we were actual royalty, the only surviving member of the royal family, we would probably know. But unfortunately, so many people think, my grandfather did come from Germany or, Austria or wherever. So that's another scam that happens. The work at home we've talked about with the secret shopping and the cleaning. Fake eBay or Craigslist sales. We had a gentleman who was purchasing a vehicle off Craigslist. I think it was Craigslist, maybe it was eBay, I don't remember. But anyway, it was one of those sites. Sent the money, everything on its way, never got a vehicle. There was no vehicle. If you're participating in these, be safe, be super, super safe, and do not send, your own personal check off to them. Make sure that they're, I don't use Craigslist, but Craigslist doesn't have like when you do eBay and that sort of thing, it doesn't have like an endorsed sellers or anything. These are just personal people putting want ads out there. So I would probably stay really far away from that unless I had, I'm not going to buy a car down in Florida, send my money, and then travel down, thinking that the car's going to be delivered or I'm going to travel down there. Same with the fake emails, like you were talking about. Look at the email in that email that you received. Look at the actual email. A lot of us have our contacts saved, so it just says Tanya now when I send the email. You can click on that and see the full email address. Do that. And then the internet dating scams that we kind of touched on already. Now I'm going to show you kind of some examples of how these fraudulent emails and scams come across and how they look, and some telltale signs of what you should be looking for, or that should be raising red flags for you as you look at these. If you've opened them, okay, I trust this account, I open it. Whether they've gotten that far with me, what else should be showing me what's wrong? A couple things here. You're going to see in red the areas that should have sent out red flags to you. This is supposedly an email from Bank of America. Bank of America is a very big, financial institution here in town. In the nation, and they are probably very professional in their emails that they send out. So when you're seeing just in the very top where it says Bank of America, right here, Bank of America never capitalizes the O in of. They are very brand conscious. So it's always a lowercase o. Bank of America is also not going to have a Yahoo email account. Big red flag. You shouldn't have even opened it. But if you did, the other thing, before you've even gotten to the open email, you have the O, you have the Yahoo, should be the big one, and then this here, this BOA. They're keeping with their brand. They're not going to use an abbreviation for themselves in the subject. They don't want that to get caught by your spam filter. They want you to know, hey, it's Bank of America, we're sending you something great. So they're not going to do that. We missed all those. We've opened it up. Someone's done some really clever cutting and pasting inside the email, so you think, ooh, this is legit. Hi. Sir, underneath. The syntax alone in a lot of these emails should give it away. The fact that most of the people writing these do not speak English as their first form, their first language. So the syntax, the layout of the verbs and the use of the wording, the grammar, the misuse of certain words if they're not exactly used in the manner in which we use them here, should give it away. The first line, here we said hi, we're lowercase again, and then we say sir down here. A professional organization is going to have their greeting and not a double greeting. Then we come back to the capitalization. The spelling of honor, is that a way to spell that? Yes. Is it a utilized one in our country? Not very often. To inform you that, we have received huge amount, not we have received a large amount or we have received a huge amount, it's we have received huge amount, so that's broken English, of money that come in your favor, again with the broken English. So you get the point here. These are all things, if you've skipped past here and you've actually gotten into an email, these should be the red flags that you're seeing that say something's wrong here. The person who is sending me this from Bank of America can't even use our language properly, is not using the proper grammar and that sort of thing. And I guarantee you, these trusted companies, everything that gets sent out goes through a multitude of authorizations and approval processes, so nothing like this is going to get out of Bank of America. So here's an example of some fraud, and since we're going into the new year here before long, I thought I would bring this up for you because every year we get the same thing. All of a sudden these scams start happening right around IRS time. The IRS is not going to send you information like this in your email. That's not how they work. Everything is very slow, laborious, transactions with them. So it doesn't all of a sudden become a 6 to 9 day in your email situation. After the last annual calculations of your fiscal activity, we have determined that you are eligible to receive a tax refund of $620.50. Again, this is a telltale sign. This isn't how it would be written. It's a misspelling here. There's no $sign. There's no spacing. Please submit the tax refund request and allow us 6 to 9 days in order to process it. A refund can be delayed for a variety of reasons. We're saying this because when you don't get your refund, we don't want you to panic. We don't want you to get on, be clued in so that you give us some extra time to process it. And then they want you to click here. Well, that's one of the things that we've talked about. We don't want you clicking on links in your emails. When you click there, you're taken to this page, this refund form, where, lo and behold, they are asking for everything that they need to hit the lottery with you. Your name, date of birth, social security number, your street address, the whole rest of your address, your bank name, your account number, your routing number. You filled this out, you send it in, and they're eating good for the next month on you. So, never, never, never. If you think for some reason maybe this might be legitimate, contact the IRS. Do not respond to this email. They are not going to contact you that way. And this is the time of year when we're coming to the end of the year, people are starting to get, their tax information together, that we start seeing these types of fraudulent activity, amp up. Ways that you can detect this information, things that you should be doing on a regular basis. We talked about your credit report. Make sure that you're checking that on a regular basis. Monitor your bank and credit card statements. It is amazing to us how many people do not even look at their statements on a month-to-month basis. Please do that. Be alert. We said if you're not receiving mail that you normally receive, that's an indication, that's a red flag. If you're receiving harassing phone calls from collection companies and that sort of thing, don't just say, oh, that's not me. I pay all my bills, and hang up. They have your information for a reason. This could be an indication that somebody has used your information, and that is why you're getting these phone calls. Respond to them before it takes that next level, when all of a sudden there's a judgment out against you or something like that. Defend yourself is the last category. If something has happened, you want to make sure that you stop the imposter's activity immediately. Like I said before, that doesn't mean that you need to have a one-on-one conversation with them over the phone, or email, whatever. Just stop your contact with them immediately. You want to make sure that you report the crime. And a lot of times that doesn't take place because people feel embarrassed. They're like, oh, I can't believe I wired $8,000 to this gal in Malaysia. I'm so embarrassed. Well, I can guarantee you, whatever it is, we've seen it. And we are not here to judge. We are here to help you get back and, correct the situation. So report the crime to the police. Report the crime to us. Let us help you, rebuild that credit. And, begin repairing that damage. Because this is going to be quite the feat if they have actually started using your information to open accounts and that sort of thing. Some of the action that you might take, that we might recommend to you, is, this doesn't necessarily have to be action that only happens if you've had the fraudulent activity on you with utilizing your information. Perhaps you want to just take a little step with your credit report. You have reason to think, something fishy. I don't really think I gave out any information, but I got a fishy phone call. Maybe they have that information. You can contact the credit reporting agencies and place a fraud alert on your account. Now, something I didn't know until very recently was that fraud alert only lasts for 90 days. The free fraud alert only lasts for 90 days. If you want it to go longer than the 90 days, they have now started assessing a monthly fee. I think it was Experian that I was talking to with the gentleman, and to have it, the monthly fee was like $14.95 to have it ongoing. Have you done any of that lately? Okay. But that was something that was new to me. I thought the fraud alert was, on there permanently.
I had my identity stolen just lately, and so I just did all that, but they never told me that I had to pay anything.
Did you do it with all 3 credit reporting agencies, and they never said anything about? Because we were on the phone, and now, did they tell you that it was only for 90 days? When I was on the phone just recently with this gentleman, and we were trying to do this for his, because this was the gentleman that had come in and had the doctor's office information and that sort of thing. I went through the whole process with him on the phone. The gentleman from the credit reporting, and like I said, I think it was Experian, he waited until the very last part of the conversation to tell us that all the stuff he had just described to us was going to be that $14.95 fee. Now, I don't know maybe there was something else.
You know,
that
I went through Federal Trade Commission and I went
Okay.
to the police office and did the fraud reports.
did
and
all the
I've done
correct
all
steps.
the-
Mhm.
All the papers they sent me to fill out and did all that stuff, but
Now, the
I've
other
never-
other thing here is perhaps, because this gentleman, he was not my favorite, the help I've ever received. He was clearly trying to upsell our member to this other additional product. Now, maybe the standard product, he just skipped over and jumped into this. But when I talked to him on the phone, that was what he had told me specifically. So make sure that you're verifying, what does this get me? If I'm placing a fraud alert, what is this getting for me? And like I said, he didn't tell me, or the gentleman that was with me when we were talking about his credit, that there was that $14.95 fee until we got to the very end. So we were thinking this fraud alert was taking care of all of this information. And then we find out, no. What the fraud alert actually does is it just places a statement on your credit report stating, possible fraud, could be taking place or whatever. It doesn't require the vendor that is pulling your credit to take any action. They should take action, but it doesn't require them to take any additional action. It just is basically serving as a warning to them that this could be possible fraud and that they should really be smart and ensure that they have a legitimate driver's license, that you are legitimately the person you say you are. But it doesn't require them to do any of those things. The other option is this freeze, and the freeze goes into is a very strict, stern. There's no credit given out, and you're freezing your credit. Nothing else is happening.
But for how long?
Do you know how long
Is
that
that
is?
the 90 days also?
No,
I think
that's a
that's-
longer period. That's like a 6 month type, 6 months to a year, I want to say, where there's no credit. It's frozen completely. So you need to think really hard before you go that step and understand the ins and outs. How do I, is it freeze? If I'm in a bind, I still can't do anything about it, or what actions do I need to take in the event that an emergency comes up? So make sure that you go through and you ask all of those questions if you are in a situation where you're having to place either one of these actions on your credit report. A lot of times we have people, they are very attached to that account number that they have. Oh, I've got 3 more boxes of checks in my closet. I will give you a free box of checks just to get you to close this account. I know it's not 3 boxes of checks, but you don't want to take the chance that this person who has all this information is going to keep accessing your account. With that in mind, I would also like to say, if you buy things regularly online, that you don't use your debit card. Use a credit card set up for online purchasing. Because if you use your debit card, think about that. You've given them the access to your account. If you use a credit card, they just have that limit. And maybe that limit's $5,000, but when your paycheck hits your regular account and they have your debit card information, that means they can just keep getting money from that cow. You've just become the money cow for them. So keep that in mind. Always, always, always report it. And then, like you were talking about, you want to go through the Federal Trade Commission. They have a site out on their site. They have step-by-step for you. They can walk you through
And
it.
they'll send you all the forms
Yeah.
to do for all the, because I had 16 accounts open.
Holy cow. Yeah.
16. Oh my
Yep.
goodness.
So that'll, they have some great information out there. We have some links on our website under the resources link to help you, with some of this information that we've talked about tonight as well. So basically, like I said, don't be embarrassed. Report that information. And then, contact, it says here right, but contact the credit bureaus and the creditors. Oftentimes they're going to want you to have a police report sent to them, and they will oftentimes require a certified copy of your ID to be included with that police report. I would not send these just willy-nilly. I would definitely contact them first and then attach this information after they've told you what to do. Is that what you saw to be the case?
Well, the Federal Trade Commission gave me the forms, and one of the forms was about, I had to take to the police station, and I didn't give them the police report, but the officer's name and the
Okay.
report number and stuff.
ID, and that's
Yeah, and then a copy of my driver's license.
Okay, so last but not least, what can you do as members of Sioux Empire Federal Credit Union to protect yourself and to protect your account with us? I don't know if you guys here in the room have set up a code word on your account, but I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. What a code word is, you know, if you call in over the phone and you want to know information about your account, we would normally, if you don't have a code word, we'd have to ask you, like, what's the last word of your social? What's your date of birth? A lot of our employees ask more than that. Like, we'll ask, when was your, you know, what vehicle loan do you have, or do you have a loan? Where's your payroll coming from? People don't understand that when they're on the phone. They get very frustrated a lot of times because this is my account. I just want to know what the balance is. What we're doing, we're inundated with calls every single day of people who are trying to access your accounts. Not just you, but other people who are trying to access this information. We have people who want to know if the check's going to clear, so their number. We have other people who maybe you've done business with that aren't that trustworthy. We've had car dealerships in the past who were posing as you because you filled out the information with them. They have all of your social security, your address, all that information that they would need to access your account, and they want to know some payoff information on your vehicle and that stuff. We don't want to give anybody your information but you. So what we've done is we have the ability to set up a code word. You can select a set of numbers, a word, a phrase, whatever you want for your code word. And that's what we'll ask you instead of that information that is so readily available to other third parties. So if you haven't done that, first thing tomorrow morning, call us and say, hey, I want to set up a code word. The only thing that we ask with the code word is that everybody on your account needs to know, because it's just one code word for the entire account. And what happens is I set up the code word, but I don't tell my son that I set up the code word. My son calls in. They ask, okay, what's the code word on your account? And he's like, I don't know, give me a hint. Okay, I don't want to give you a hint because I'm trying to protect you. And again, we go through that circle where then people sometimes get upset, and so we have to ask a couple other questions. But I highly recommend that code word if you do not have it, and we will ask that with every transaction. The other thing is keeping your checks secure. You know, we talked about this earlier. A lot of times this is happening with people that you know, friends, family members. Keep those items secure. It shouldn't just be out on the kitchen counter. You know, the little box that they come in, you know, shouldn't be sitting out there for everybody to see and just swipe one of those. We had a gal whose roommate did that and swiped the very, very last, you know, boxes, or not box, but like packet of checks. So she didn't realize until she got down there, oh, I'm missing a packet of checks. Well, meanwhile, Skippity-Doo-Lah, they thought you were my best friend, is out writing checks all over to casinos or wherever. Never give out your ATM PIN information. Never. Never, never, never. Never give that information out. Once you've given that information to somebody, you never get it back. You can't, let's say you have a falling out with that friend. You know, we've had situations, again, the roommate situation. Oh, I'm running to the ATM to get money before we go out tonight. Oh, well, here's my ATM card. Will you just grab me $20 too? You know, they don't think long term. So all of a sudden, their roommate has this information, and then they get in a fight, and the roommate is there, you know, able to access. Another example of that is I had a gentleman in here, love of his life, girlfriend, had all of his information, all of his account information, his social security number, his code word, everything. He came in and he goes, you know, Tanya, I've had some weird activity on my account. Can you look at it? And I'm like, oh yeah, this activity is going over to this other person's account. And he's like, well, I broke up with her 2 months ago. She shouldn't still be taking that money. She's mad. She wants that money. So she took it. But he had provided her with all that information, so she was able to go in online and do that. So your online access codes, same thing. Keep those near and dear to your heart. Do not share them with anybody. You can set up alerts on your account to notify you. I'm sorry.
What if you have a husband who doesn't know information on the account, doesn't want to know?
Does he access? He doesn't access it? You know, I guess I don't know what your specific situation is, so maybe we should talk afterwards and I can see if there's other ways but I don't, if he doesn't want to know it and he's not going to need to know it, no worries. If for some reason he is going to need to know it somewhere down the line, then there's probably some other conversations that we need to have to kind of just have him set up for it. But it's not information that you want to be writing down anywhere so he can reference it or keeping,
He just, I guess over the years, I've always done it. And I said, well, what if I drop dead tomorrow?
The thing is, he's on the account. We would be able to help him. He would be in probably a hurting situation, but we've dealt with that a lot of times. And so long as he had his identification and he came in, we would walk him through the entire
Really,
process.
I feel it's better that he doesn't get into the account.
Yeah.
Not that he can't have the money.
Right.
It's just that
You have your
if you don't-
system.
If you don't know what you're doing,
Yep.
don't get in there and mess around.
If that situation were to take place and, he had to come in, we would walk him through it. We do it all the time. So we would just have to identify him and, it may not be as easy. Like if you had a code word on your account and you didn't know the code word, we'd take other steps and have, possibly have him come in so we could actually see his ID and verify in fact it was him. But we would be able to walk him through that process. You can set up alerts on your account to notify you of many different things. You can set up alerts on your account to notify you when your balance falls below, $500. You can have it set on your account every time you get a deposit. If you don't know what the alerts are in there, check them out. Visit with one of us, because that is another way for you to monitor your account and constantly know what's going on. And those, are emailed to you at your email address that you provide. And you can if you always have this limit as like a slush fund in the bottom of your account, and all of a sudden it dips to only $100, something's going on and you need to be there. Because if you're just waiting for that statement to come out at the end of the month, that's not good anymore. You need to be accessing your accounts and looking at them all the time. And that leads us to this next one, signing up for online account access so that you can go in there and monitor it. So you're not just waiting for that paper statement to get to you. Also, you're taking away the fraudster's ability to steal your statement and have access to all of your account information, because they know that those come out, about that first week of the month, and so they're watching and they, can grab that. So if you're doing e-statements and you have online account access, then you can monitor that all around and protect yourself. We also talked about this bill pay. We can help you with that. A lot of people are intimidated by it if you're not using it already. And honestly, it may sound like I'm just trying to push products on you, but I'm not. These are things that are here to help you. This eliminates, a lot of our vendors, this will eliminate the bill actually showing up in your mailbox. So again, you're taking that opportunity for those fraudsters away. People, is there a fee assessed with it? Yes, there's a $5 fee. We have our relationship pricing though, where we can get you to a point where you're getting that service for free. So visit with one of us. Again, the e-statements, you don't want that statement going to your mailbox unless it's completely secure, because that has all of your information in it. Somebody gets that, they can have access to your account. We also have e-notices. If you have an email set up, you can get all of the notices about your account right to your email. It's going to do two things. It's going to eliminate that information sitting in your mailbox waiting for somebody to take it, and two, you're going to get it before the mail would have gotten to you. You're going to get it and see, oh, I can do something about whatever this problem is that I'm getting this notice on today, as opposed to when the mail finally gets to me. This is a very simple one, but very problematic one. Keep your information with us up to date. Have a secondary phone number. A lot of times people put their home phone on there, but they don't put their cell phone. You're out traveling. You've gone to, California for the winter. You only have your home phone number on there. Something goes wrong with your account, we're trying to track you down. We can't. Maybe it's one of those card situations that we talked about earlier where your card's been compromised and I need to get a hold of you. Well, I can't do that, and so I have to make a call. Is this important enough that I shut down this card, or do I wait until I can talk to her? You want me to be able to get a hold of you to say, I need to close your account. This is where or not your account, but your card. This is where I'm sending it. So if you have your cell phone number on there as well, work number, keep that account information up to date for us. We promise not to abuse it. And then inform us when you're traveling. Your debit card has a lot of just automatic processes that go on whenever you're out of town. It sees what your normal activity is and compares it to some random activity. So if you usually only shop in Sioux Falls, and then all of a sudden you're in California at a Walmart and you spend over $200, bing, that sends a message automatically to our Advantage, debit card providers. They try and contact you, they try and contact us. If you're going out of town, just give us a call, let us know, we'll indicate it on your account, and then you don't have to worry about having your card kind of closed down on you. It's not completely closed, but we stop it because we're afraid it's fraudulent activity, because it's activity out of your normal activity. And that's all being monitored electronically these days. So maybe you didn't ever go to California before, but if you hit California in a Walmart and you spend over $200, those are like keys in every state that automatically sends up a red flag.